99% of this movie was storyboard beforehand, and I think in the end we used four different cars to pull off what we pull off basically. And for a lot of them, there's like a driver hidden on the roof, like a stunt driver. So we
Oh
had a car that
wow.
basically, yeah, the steering wheel and the brakes and everything are up top, and Dimitri just has to hold on to his steering wheel and pretend to be really good, and
Oh
that way we
damn.
could, yeah. But oftentimes I would be in the car or in the trunk. Obviously, the cameraman's in there, and we would come out very pale after an action scene because yeah, we did a lot of stuff for real.
Today on the show, we are joined by film and music video director Jonas Govaerts. Jonas recently released a new movie titled Hazard, starring the world famous DJ Dimitri Vegas, and we caught this film at the Toronto After Dark Film Festival, and what a wild ride. This movie was so much fun, and I was so happy to get the opportunity to talk to him all about the behind the scenes stuff, the craziness with the stunts, the action, the dialogue, and other nuances that were revealed in this interview that gives me an extra layer of appreciation of how much fun that film is. Also, Jonas is well known for his work on music videos with artists such as R.A. the Rugged Man and bands and musicians of all sorts of genres. I think what's cool about hearing his journey is that I felt really inspired by his spirit, beyond having the intentions to learn something new. With each and every project he does, at the end of the day, he wants to just make it fun and make some cool shit. And how can you not respect that? So we're gonna get into it right now, and here's Jonas. I think this is the record for the earliest podcast I've ever recorded.
What is it, like 7 for you or something?
Yeah, you know what's funny too? When I was calculating the times, I originally thought you were only like 5 hours ahead, and then last night I did like a double triple check, and I'm like, oh shit, I got like one less hour, but it's all good. This is fun getting me up early and starting the day off with just a great talk. I gotta say, I'm excited to pick your brain not only about the movie Hazard, but I was kind of going back in time and seeing the things you've done. And I didn't even notice till like yesterday that I've seen a bunch of your work through music videos.
Really?
And you've like mainly the stuff you've done with R.A. the Rugged Man and a lot of those things too. I'm very part of the hip hop scene in Toronto too, and
Nice.
also just a lot of those videos went super viral and stuff, such as like the legendary Loser. I've always seen like clips of that, like on little news channels too, because of he's dressed up like 6ix9ine and all that too. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, just it's such a cool body of work you have, and I kind of like want to go back in time and hear how you got into filmmaking. And was it music videos first? Was it films first? How was like your timeline there?
So I've always made music as a musician, not hip hop though, and I went to film school like a lot of my colleagues. So I think the first few things I did might have been some shorts coming out of school, and then pretty much because I'm in a musical community, and Belgium is a very musical country. So I got asked quite quickly to make music videos for other people, and my philosophy there is that I use them as like mini movies to try maybe new technologies out or work with an actor or actors I haven't worked with. Like a group will give you a little bit of money, and the good thing is that they'll kind of let you. They're just happy that they have some images to go with their music, and I see it as little movies. So a lot of my colleagues, they work maybe every 5 years because that's how long it takes to get a movie made over here. And to me, these are little practice runs. And when it comes to international artists, I will usually approach an artist to see if they're interested. Like I know I'm not the biggest hip hop fan myself, or I wasn't before, but RA is also a big horror fan.
Mm.
RA Rugged Man, who I've made a few videos for, and he made a movie. I think about 10 years ago. He made a movie together with Frank Hennelotter called Bad Biology, which was this very weird, very sexual, very dark movie. And I noticed that the guy, who was the co-writer and the actor in it, was coming to like a small bar in Antwerp, to perform. So I saw him there. I heard his music. I think I knew his music, but I'd never seen him play live. And I just cornered him. And I think he was so pleasantly surprised that someone didn't want to talk about music, but want to talk about horror. That
Yeah.
we kind of became fast friends. And whenever he's over for we shoot a video here, he'll stay here in my house. Like he's a real rebel in the hip hop scene, and he's a real do-it-yourself artist. And I appreciate that a lot because I feel like that myself.
Yeah, that's so cool. And like even like seeing the list, like you've done so many, like almost more than you can count on a hands of like his videos. And that's right too. Like he's such like a workhorse, and almost like you use the word DIY, and just I see him just like touring over the years, like just crazy and stuff like that. So that's like a big grind. And you said that yourself, it kind of has that spirit as well, and that's what connected you to you find like making music videos to you're just very like DIY and just like let's figure this out and just hustling and everything.
100%. I don't think it always starts with the promise. Like they'll approach me, they're like, "Yeah, you," especially RA will say, "You'll keep a little money for your pocket," and it never happens. I don't care because I know stepping into a music video, either it's a how do you call that, like a break-even situation, or I'll
Mm.
put a little money in myself. I know how it is, and I know there's your ambitions are always bigger than the budget. But rather than not doing it or just doing some stupid performance video, I always try to do something special and something I haven't done before. Like the latest ones I've done, I've been working with like those open AI programs. So a lot of 3D, a lot of like computer imagery. It's all new territory for me. And I love it. With every video, I try to explore something, a tool I haven't explored yet. So that's what I get out of it, basically.
Oh, that's so cool. And I really relate to that. Like sometimes you just got the idea and you don't care. Like it's almost like the art and passion is above the money, you know, where I find like a lot of people like working, like obviously we need money to live and that, but I find like when I can take a hit, if I can make something even better, like that I've imagined, I always do that too. And to the point where like sometimes people like think I'm crazy for that, you know, like it doesn't make sense like business mind, but it's interesting to hear your spirit of just almost like idea over everything type of spirit, you know.
Well, during the making of each one, there's always a time where I'm like, why am I doing this? Why did I fool myself into doing this? But then when it turns out cool, it's like, oh yeah, now I know. And then some time passes and I fall for it again next time. So yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's really interesting too. You mentioned you're working with a bunch of like new technology, and it's even cool to kind of step out of your comfort zone and gain all this knowledge too. And I'm sure like every time you do this on like a music video, you get a new tool that you can use like maybe in a film or whatnot and everything. And
Yeah, for sure. I think Hazard is basically a lot of the scenes I wouldn't have been able to do if I didn't have those 10 years or 15 years of like boots on the ground music video experience. I'm sure of it. I couldn't have done it. I'm sure. Yeah.
yeah, even when I watched Hazard 2, it has like I didn't notice as I was watching it, but now that I think about it, it does have like a music video look and sleek to it, and like the way things are shot, and just like very like fast paced and quick, and it's really cool. And it's I kind of want to know a little bit about what inspired you to make Hazard and make a epic, ambitious action movie like that.
How did that come about? I was already. It's a script heavily adapted, but the original idea is from an American writer called Trent Haga, who's a guy I admire, much like your RA is like an old school do-it-yourself kind of punky rebel type who came from Trauma. Basically, that's where he had his education, film education, and we've been working for a few years on another script, an LA set thing. But then as we were working on it, the pandemic hit, and I kind of realized like, oh shit, this is not for me. I won't be able to sit in my desk for however long this is going to last, this epidemic. So I basically asked him, do you have anything lying around that I could shoot quickly and cheaply, which are two words that will come and haunt me quite soon. And he had like a first draft of something, and it was then called Interior Car. And it was an LA set. yeah, two guys in a car going around, and his idea was to shoot it probably for himself for like a couple of 100,000 with GoPros in his car,
Oh,
in his own
wow.
car without permits. But with his permission, we turned it into the film that it is today. Basically, he was still involved, but we kind of agreed that I could kind of run wild with it and make it more surreal and more Belgian, and yeah, and that's what Hazard became basically. Yeah.
Oh, that's very interesting too, because it's cool to hear that it started out as a simple idea, because what it turned into is just craziness and madness. And yeah, I ended up watching that through the Toronto After Dark Film Festival, and it was it's mostly like a horror festival, but I'm myself is more of an action guy too, so that was like a perfect way for me to kind of like kick it off and just watch something so fun. It almost reminded me of like movies I love, like such as like Guy Ritchie films like a Snatch or a Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, because beyond the action, I really loved the characters as well. Like they're just over the top personalities. And I kind of want to know like your experience working with all these different actors, and like it almost seemed like it would be like such a fun experience to be on the set and like have them go over these like ridiculous lines and everything.
Yeah, it was a real balance of it's a real mixture of inexperienced and experienced actors. Like there's a lot of musician cameos. Dimitri, the
Mhm.
lead himself, had never been a lead of anything. He had some acting experience, but he'd never done that. So we kind of retooled the script to fit everyone's talents and experience. And like it was kind of a weird exercise, because often I would tell Dimitri to do less and to be more stoic and to be more like the cool driver guy, while next to him, Jeroen, I just dialed him up to 11 and beyond, because he usually he's a well-known actor over here, the rapper character, the nephew.
Mhm.
But he usually is such a wild persona that I think a lot of my colleagues ask him to tone it down a bit. And I was the first one, I think, to ask for more, even after a big take. I have a lot of rushes where he kind of looks into the camera after a take, going like, "Can't believe I'm allowed to do this," and then the next take would be even bigger. So that was a very interesting uh, thing for me as a director, to all these different energies to kind of have them come together in this weird movie that's not in completely in reality. So that was kind of new for me as well. Um, and like for example, the scene I heard in Toronto, we get an applause unto itself, which was nice. There's like a pretty erotic scene involving the car at a certain point.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, but that guy performing the erotic act is actually quite a serious theater and TV and film actor, and I love that too. To not have it be a cartoon performance, it's a cartoon or a very over the top scene, but the guy takes it completely seriously. So I got to make all these little mini movies inside the movie with very different energy. So that was, yeah, it was great way to spend the summer. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. And even like hearing you talk about it too, just kind of like your energy and like you're smiling too for people who are listening to the audio versions of this one. It just seemed like such a fun experience too. And as a viewer, that totally translated on the screen. Like, you know, like the movie just felt like a nonstop action like party, you know, too. And even it's interesting to hear you talk about Dimitri Vegas and saying that was his first role. This movie actually introduced me to him when I was doing my research and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, this guy was really good. Like, what else is he in? And you click on his IMDb, and it's like, nothing. Yeah, he's a DJ. He's an and like somebody who was like voted #1 DJ in the world at one time. I'm not really from that scene, so I didn't know that, but then I look on his Instagram and it's at like 2 million followers type of thing too, so that had to be interesting. Were you going in it and knowing he was like inexperienced, did you feel nervous making him the lead, or did you just think of like this is going to work out anyway type of thing?
No, there was definitely it was a gamble, but then I met him because, like you, I wasn't. I mean, Belgium's a small country, so I knew of his reputation, but also
Mhm.
I'm a hip hop fan. I'm a guitar band fan. I'm not into
Nice.
EDM at all. I am a little bit more now because he really taught me about that music. He was the music supervisor of the film as well. But as soon as I met him, even though he's like, yeah, a star in his world or his universe, he was super humble about the whole thing. And the good thing was, because of the pandemic, he wasn't touring. Like normally he wouldn't be home for 1 week, but he was just home, and and that allowed me. I went over there in my mind every weekend. We just went over the script, we talked about it, and he wasn't. There was no ego involved, and he admitted freely that he was open to learn, and he trusted me more than some experienced actors trusted me. So just to have that, like to have someone who's just willing to learn, and let you tell him, like, I think this is your limit, and let's try that. That was great about him. So it was a jump in the dark for both of us, but I don't think we betrayed each other's trusts, and that's what really it really worked out in the end. And I'm happy to hear someone like you say, like, for you it completely worked, and yeah, he's good. I think he's good. So there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. I kind of want to know like his reaction to when he saw the final product, and just like your skills of making him a total fucking badass, you know? Like I feel like that's like one of those movies when you see the lead, like every guy wishes they could be in a role like that, you know? But like what was his like take when he finally saw the finished piece?
Well, I think that hopefully we do something a little bit subversive, where, like, in the first 5 minutes of the movie, you think he's gonna be like a Jason Statham kind of badass, but really he's a dad who drops off his kid. He gets beaten up a lot. He bites the dust a lot, and that was the most pleasant thing, that Dimitri was completely game with all those things. Like, that character thinks he's really cool, but in the end, he's just a family dad, a family man trying to get by and barely surviving. And I liked that he didn't just want to be the badass, even though, he has a badass side, and he looks the part. But I thought, oh no, like, there's we say in Belgium, like, a small heart inside him. So klein hartje. So that was my pleasant surprise, that he didn't just want to be Jason Statham. He wanted to be the family man as well, and went all out to portray that as well. So that's what I love. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and even you saying that, it's like kind of making me appreciate the character a little more, the double side to him too, because there is like a lot of scenes where he's just this insane driver, you know, but then yeah, again, like he does have a heart, and that's like, I wouldn't say a weakness, you know, but it just like does get him in situations and all that. But yeah, and speaking of the driving too, like the action was so incredible too, and that had to be a challenge to film as well, like all these different angles and everything. And could you tell me a little bit about like producing action like that?
Sure. I think the reason why because I'm myself am not I'm more of a horror guy than an action guy myself. I like action movies, but I'm not necessarily a fan of gangster movies. Like, that's a world that I think it's been done. But the cool thing about Transcript was, like, the first line before the story started, it said the camera doesn't leave the car. And to me, that was such a cool prospect that was very Hitchcockian. And basically that's what made me think, oh, whatever the story is, I think I might be very interested in figuring out how far you can go. And the cool thing is, like, really, this wasn't the budget of an action movie. We had, like, limited resources, but because the camera never leaves the car, you kind of get away with it, and you have to rethink all your, sorry for the sirens.
Yeah,
uh,
no problem.
you have to rethink all your set pieces, and they become hopefully quite unique and original looking, because you only have one vantage point, basically. So to me, I think 99% of this movie was storyboard beforehand, and I think in the end we used 4 different cars to pull off what we pull off, basically. And for a lot of them, there's like a driver hidden on the roof, like a stunt driver. So we
Oh
had a car that
wow.
basically, yeah, the steering wheel and the brakes and everything are up top, and Dimitri just has to hold on to his steering wheel and pretend to be really good, and
Oh
that way we
damn.
could, yeah. But oftentimes I would be in the car or in the trunk. Obviously, the cameraman's in there, and we would come out very pale after an action scene, because yeah, we did a lot of stuff for real.
Oh
Yeah.
wow. Yeah, yeah, I couldn't even imagine. That's cool to hear all that, those extra layers with like a driver on top too, and like, and even like putting your trust in that driver. I can imagine like you being in the trunk with the camera, and Dimitri's like in the front, like pretending, but also like, okay, I hope he doesn't hit this wall right here, or like whatever crazy situation you're in too. That had to be like
Yeah,
a bit of a rush.
It was a German guy called Lutz, and he came straight off the James Bond set. So we did. He had experience, so that was good. Yeah.
Wow, wow, that's amazing. One thing I appreciated too about the driving too, it seemed very 2022 with the car technology, you know, like I'm used to watching like old James Bond's movies too, and all they have is just like the stick shift and some stuff like that. But it's cool like how this movie utilized like the newer car technology, like the dash cams, and even like pulling out new tricks that I've never seen in an action movie in car chases too, because it's such like a modern take on everything too. So that had to be like really interesting getting creative with what you can do with newer vehicles and that type of technology and all that.
For sure, that was like the whole exercise of what angle haven't we seen before, and let's not have it be boring. I don't think there's an angle we don't use. Basically, you even see you get a shot through the exhaust pipe, stuff like that. The rear view cam was very handy. Yeah, absolutely. And I like when technology like his phone becomes like a super important tool in the storytelling.
Mhm.
Like a lot of the backstory comes through the phone, different characters come through the phone. I love playing with stuff like that, and it's visual. You don't have to explain it; people know what it is, so that's nice. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Even I feel like this movie would make a great video game as well too. With I don't know, it just seems like a futuristic like Grand Theft Auto type of scenario type of thing with nonstop just action and hilarious characters. And I don't want to spoil too much of this movie. Like I stress people to go see it. But there is one thing I wanted to mention too that I just loved, and I believe it was called like the 8 o'clock dog or the 6 o'clock dog, or
Yeah,
is that really taken from like a folk tale to get children in their house earlier, or was this just something
that
for
is.
the?
It's not a folktale. It's what my grandmother used to tell us to get us into bed. So yeah, that was a thing. She had a little yard, and behind the yard was a little pathway, and it spoke to my imagination. Like my grandmother would say, like, "Look, you guys have to go to bed before 8 o'clock, or the dog will get you." Uh,
Mm.
yeah, so that's it. And it became. I thought, oh, if I set this up as a joke, then it can pay off later, and we actually get that character to see it. It was a lot. It was basically a tribute to my grandmother here in Belgium. Yeah.
Oh, that's so beautiful too. And
Yeah.
then it just turned into like just a hilarious, almost like horror like thing where this world you created actually has the 8 o'clock dog. And if you're out at this time, this thing's gonna just rip you apart. And I don't know, this is something I thought that was just so funny. And even hearing the layers, like I did not know that came from like your grandma as well. That's great that you have that little tribute to her. Is she still around? Is she still alive? Does she know this or no?
She's not around, but
Yeah.
every one of her children and their children know about the 8 o'clock dog. So my family greatly enjoyed that little nod. And I don't know
Okay.
if you noticed, but we in the film we used the clock of the car to show the passage of time a few times.
Mm.
And there's no coincidence when the 8 o'clock dog appears. It's exactly at eight. It's like yeah, stuff like that. Yeah, yeah, it was fun.
Amazing. Oh, that's such a cool like little concept of a monster too. Even I was thinking like that'd be a great name for a hardcore band or something, 8 o'clock dog. Like that's hard as fuck. And like when people ask you what it means, it's like, oh yeah, at 8, like this dog's gonna come and kill you. I gotta pick up the guitar again and make that happen.
Yeah, that or like a very non-tasty IPA beer could be called
Yeah.
8 o'clock. Yeah.
Yeah, that's facts. Especially around here, I could see that there already being one because there's just so many microbreweries popping up. Like that's the fad in Toronto. Like every corner has a brewery now, but I might
There
have
you
to
go.
pitch that to somebody. That's so good. And yeah, even looking like through your IMDb too is showing that you were working on something else as well called Heads Will Roll. And just I'm not sure how much you can talk about it too, but is this another action movie or is this a
No, this is
horror?
that would be if it ever comes to pass, and I hope it will. I've been sitting on that. Well, not sitting on it, but it's been brewing for a few years, and it's basically a heavy metal horror comedy. That's the idea. It's about a band that would have been Metallica, but they fucked it up, and basically they get chased down by their own mascot. Like if Iron Maiden had Eddie come after them, that's kind of the idea. Yeah,
Oh, I'm
yeah.
so intrigued. Oh man. Yeah, especially just loving what you did with Hazard too. I'm a day one watcher of this one too. I'm a big metalhead. Like at the beginning I mentioned that I'm part of the hip hop scene, but everybody who knew me growing up makes a joke like how because I'm always wearing like metal shirts. I've got a Motorhead parody of aliens right here.
Oh
But
wow.
fucking yeah, just somehow like I took a direction in my life where like the just filming like live events and the Toronto hip hop scene embraced me like a family, you know, and it's beyond the genre of music. It's almost like just a spirit and that I work with them and everything. But people growing up who knew me are like, how the hell did this even happen? And it's interesting, even at the beginning of the interview, too, like you said, like you weren't really like in the hip hop world, and now you're so embedded in like making almost all these like famous RA the Rugged Man videos too. Do you feel like you're kind of like the type of person who just kind of lets go and goes with the flow with things and falls into like all these different paths in life?
Well, I do think like when I think I might be a bit older than you, but when I was growing up, there was no way that the metal kids or the grunge kids would talk to the hip hop kids, or even the metal kids to the grunge kids. There were all these, groups, and I
Hmm.
feel that in the last 10, 15 years, kids don't care about that. It's all it's all good. So I appreciate that. So that's me as a music fan, but also what I love about my job is I get to dive into worlds that I didn't know before, like the whole EDM thing, the electronic dance music stuff. Yeah, Dimitri was like, "Let's make this the coolest soundtrack that ever was for a music movie," and that's not homework to me. Like every movie I make, even I'm not a car guy at all. Like I don't have a car. I use these rentals, but for this, I really had to look into like how do we make this cool but uncool. And with every project, that's what I like. I meet new people with new interests, and I get to look at things in a different way, and that's what's great about the job, basically. So yeah, I think I hope I'm open minded when it comes to those things. Yeah.
Oh, definitely, and then some. And yeah, I am from like the days where it wasn't cool to mix genres, you know? It's like it was interesting how like if you listen to metal, that had to be your identity. If you listen to hip hop, that had to be your identity. And it's interesting hearing about your film journey and all that, whether it's coming from music or different genres of film. Just totally being open and in learning in an authentic way and just getting the right type of people too. And like you mentioned the music in Hazard too, which was so fun. And even like I mentioned I'm not like much of an EDM guy, but it was some iconic tracks that I recognize, such as like a DaRude, and I think maybe one was like a DJ Tiesto, I
Oh
believe
yeah.
too. Yeah, yeah. And it's funny how the movie even like had a moment where it kind of broke the fourth wall and made fun of the soundtrack, where um the secondary character kind of asked if he could turn off the techno music type of thing. So
Yeah, and even Fort, even more than Fort Wall. Like I think the track. So what happens is our main character has a track on. I think that's actually Sandstorm by DaRude,
mhm.
which for a peek behind the scenes, that was the most expensive track we had on the soundtrack. And then the nephew steps into the car and he basically says, "Turn that shit off." And the next track you hear is R.A. the Rugged Man, who basically
Ah,
gave us his music for free. So the fact that these two artists who would never meet in real life are like next to each other in a movie, that really gave me like a big kick. I was like, yeah, this is kind of my life. Like it was really funny.
yeah.
So it's stuff like that, and when the car, the idea is like he just wants his own little paradise, but everyone who gets in, messes with his life, messes with his car, and it's just a takeover each time, and that's kind of I thought that was a funny element to it all. Yeah.
Yeah, and even just thinking, it seems like almost every project you do something to step out of your comfort zone or learn something new. And is there any big takeaways from this film that you think about from in like I don't know, in retrospect when you look back at it, it's just like of maybe something you learned or something like you took away from it that you're going to use going forward?
What I'm happy with is that it wasn't an easy movie to make, especially technically. But the fact that I and encouraged all parties to keep on going all out, like the fact that you feel that like it's a party, I think is a result of everyone treating it as a party. And because car movies are technically quite daunting, and it's a lot of serious business on set. But the fact that we always made room for fun and improvisation and color and laughter, I like that idea that it bleeds through in the final product. Like it's a fun movie. It's not a chore. Hopefully to sit through. So yeah, the fact that we try to keep that alive, I think, is very important going further as movies hopefully get bigger. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome too. And yeah, I'm so interested in what you do with Heads Will Roll too, because it seems like such a different concept as well, which I don't know, it's exciting. I'm a new fan of yours, and I just kind of like, even talking to you, I'm appreciating more and more layers of how the process is, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. And like you did mention, this next one is features a metal band, and we've interviewed a bunch of metal bands on the show as well too, so that's kind of like a cool crossover. And do you have any like favorites bands growing up, or maybe even currently right now?
Yeah, like I said, I was a grunge kid. So when I was
Yeah.
12, Nevermind came out, and for 10, 15 years, metal was stupid to me. It was like, why are these guys? Even though I secretly probably listened to the Black album.
Hmm.
Um, but the funny thing is, as a musician, I try to keep up. I'm a bass player, and I just noticed that if I practice now, it's always the Iron Maiden, because if you really want to work out for your fingers. So yeah, if you told 15-year-old me that he'd be practicing bass to Iron Maiden, my head would explode. So it's just like it's it took me a while to see where punk and metal kind of converged. But if you get to the Misfits and stuff like that, it kind of all starts making sense, and you can move freely between them. Like if I go to the gym now, I'm listening to Meshuggah, those
Mm.
kind of bands.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good to be open minded when it comes to music and not just be stuck in the past. That's what I've learned. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff out there, and even with RA, for example, I'm working on a video now, and it's you would think the complete opposite of RA music. It's these two girls that sing harmonies in Dutch. It's almost like theater art set to music. And RA loved the video that I did for them, and he kind of, without asking, he basically freewheeled over their beat. So now there's another collaboration that's like that would never happen in any universe, where RA the Rugged Man is singing over these two Dutch girls' music. I love stuff like that, and
Yeah,
RA's
me
like,
too. Yeah, oh, I love it so much too. And yeah, you like we've mentioned too, you wouldn't imagine as a kid like all this stuff blending. It was all so in a box. And yeah, I totally remember those days. And even right now, probably my most frequent guest is this guy. It's a friend of mine named Joe Cash, and he kind of does like more like kind of sappy, emotional like songs with on acoustic or piano. But prior to that, he was so embedded in like the punk scene, and even films with me all these battle raps and stuff like that. So even though his music isn't punk or rap, you go to one of his shows and the crowd is like people with mohawks and misfit shirts and just all just kind of like groove into this emotional music too. And even like thinking about it, I'm getting like goosebumps, where it's more like it's not even about like what the sound is. It's more like people, I feel like these days are connecting to a vibe, an energy, a spirit, and stuff like that. And yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's something that's really interesting to me, and I'm happy it's happening too, because like, I don't know, just I guess it's the power of the internet as well. Like we're
sure.
exposed to so much more stuff than maybe something like an older brother or a cousin showed you, and they're just like, this is music type of thing, and this is the only way, where now it's just you can watch everything, you know.
It's funny because there was always a connection. You're probably familiar with the Canadian band No Means No.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, which was like, that's if you want to learn to play bass, that's a band. Like that's one of the bands I loved. And
Mhm.
I interviewed them once, and they had a weird connection with the Lowlands. They often would play, like their live album is recorded in Holland, So there's a weird cultural connection too, why those two places match. I don't know what it is. I just had to think of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, but the fact that that I'm now, there's what's the time difference? Like 7 or 8 hours between us.
Yeah,
Uh,
I believe six
yeah. Oh,
hours.
6. Yeah. But the fact that a small genre movie, we don't make genre movies in Belgium. So the fact that I'm talking to you now is, to me, is a small wonder as well. Like, we don't really have genre cinema here. So I'm glad I get to make one every few years. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. And even like I feel like we don't get a lot of these type of movies like a huge theatrical push on, or they get like these limited runs. And one thing that I just appreciated it so much about this movie too is like I haven't seen a crazy good off the rails action movie in so long, because like nowadays it's like if you're not a superhero movie you're not getting that push. And what's special, I don't think it's all of Canada. I think it's just like the major cities like Vancouver or Toronto. They do have these film festivals where you can see these type of like, I don't know, I wanted to use the word throwback, but it's like kind of have like an older like action movie experience, but it's also new and it's also like very quality. So I feel like very blessed getting to see your film alongside with others. And because I think if we didn't have that festival, like that would be something like totally off my radar and everything.
Yeah, I think it's a genre that kind of, with the DVD going away and like those mid-budget things going away, it was a dying breed for a long time. So I know what you mean. It's not disrespectful to call it like a throwback or retro. That's exactly what we were trying to do. That's the movies I miss. Just
Hmm.
like from the '90s, there was like a very cool indie scene in the movies that's completely eradicated, it seems. And yeah, anything to nod to that scene is yeah, great, of course.
Yeah, and yeah, I think all of you like just did such a masterful job on it. It was like just again, I can't stop using the word fun. Even like I noticed with these segments, I've been getting a lot of like messages from people who are content creators of all sorts of things, from film, comedians, musicians. They seem to gravitate to these little podcast segments I'm doing. So I've been starting to just like ask masters at their craft like yourself. Would you have any advice to somebody who's kind of new to filmmaking or music video or making, like things they should know like going into it and all that on that maybe you learned on your journey?
Yeah, yeah. Let's see. I think I'm probably more useful in giving music video advice because
Mhm.
you know one thing I always, it sounds stupid, but if you're doing narrative pieces, which I prefer over performance pieces, it's good to get something on paper. Sounds stupid, but even a script for a music video, for everyone to be on the same page to understand it, that's something I always do. And a very weird thing is, like, even though they're like the length of a song, I always try to make him have 3 acts. Like, if you have like a cool location or something, don't use that in the first 2 parts of your song. Keep it for the end, even though it's just a light change or something. Whatever budget you have, like, however cool your video is, people will get bored of the visuals after half of it. And it's a really weird trick that I use. Like, whatever you have to, the little extra thing, keep it for the end, basically.
Oh.
Yeah, and involve the band as much. Well, these are just stupid. It's yeah, it's hard to give advice that way. But just what I said before, like, maybe you can treat music videos as like little mini movies, and get something out of it for yourself, basically. And also, I think it's very important to love the song, because it's whatever, however big the band is, it's a chore if you don't like the song. So I try to do it for bands I love and like, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing because I can't even imagine in the editing process you're hearing it over and over and over, lines and choruses and hooks. And yeah,
Yeah.
I do like that spirit of taking your big location and saving it almost like a movie, like a climax scene. And because I find even I've done very, very low budget videos and I've had like a different mindset that didn't always work out, but it's like we get the location and it's like, okay, we're using this for the whole thing, you know, instead of saving it for like a special thing. And it's almost something I don't really think about, like the visual aspect of like almost stimulating somebody else's brain going into it.
Hmm. Yeah.
I want to say like thanks for starting my day with like such a great talk about creativity. Usually I don't even have my first coffee by now, but this was such a beautiful way to kick off my day, man.
Oh no, thank you.
Yeah. And before we go, is there anything else you wanna say or anything? Or
I just hope that that more people get to see it. I don't know what the plan is for the release over there. So yeah, if like anyone sees it over there, wants to ask me something or wants to get in touch, please do via Instagram. It's just my name, Jonas Govaerts. I love connecting not just with filmmakers and fans of the film, but with musicians as well. Like I usually my day job is music videos. So if you want a video and you have a cool song, let me know. Yeah.
amazing, because I feel like I'm more embedded in the music scene than the film scene. So yeah, we're definitely gonna keep in touch, Jonas. And yeah,
Yes.
it's just such a pleasure to meet you and everything. And even as time goes on, if like the film ends up on like a streaming service or something, we're gonna reshare clips of this interview in little pieces and just continue to get it out. Because like I just one thing about like this series too, and why I started it, it's just I love sharing cool shit, and that was a fucking amazing fun time of a movie, man. And yeah, I really appreciated that.
Yeah, thank you for the enthusiastic response because I remember even before clicking on it, you see your face on the video, and it
Mhm.
didn't seem like you were gonna trash the movie. Like you had a big smile, so I was like, I probably should listen to this one because this guy seems to like what we've done. So that was
Oh,
nice.
that's amazing too. Like, as I was doing all those like immediately when I was done watching it, so it was a genuine reaction. And I don't usually do reviews like that. I usually just post clips of the podcast, which it's been amazing. Just something so simple as pulling out my phone and like giving a 1 minute reaction. I had no clue of like the great feedback I would get from it. I was more like doing it because the festival gave me so many films to watch, and I'm like, okay, I got to do something with all this stuff. And it's just amazing, kind of putting out almost genuine good energy has connected me with not only you, like I remember you followed me. I'm like, oh, that's so fucking cool. And then even like from other films, from actors to directors, just kind of hitting me up and saying like, thank you. Like UFC fighters were in my inbox. I'm like, such a simple idea of promotion that I've never thought of doing. It was like something special. And then I have moments where I'll like spend like an entire day like editing like a podcast and like all these clips, and like maybe that doesn't like blow up like that you think it would. It's just funny like navigating the internet. You never know what's gonna hit or connect with people in general too. So I kind of appreciate your feedback there too. I'm gonna start doing it with like everything I watch now, just because I don't know, it's just fun. And again, it's so nice to connect with you too. And I feel like this isn't the last time we're gonna be talking together and having you on an episode, because I'm looking forward to whatever future project you got going on. I'm a new fan of yours, so
I'll keep you in the loop. No, and as a last thing, it's that whole thing, and I'm guilty of it as well. It's not because you spend 3 minutes listening to someone's song or watching 90 minutes of someone's music movie. Like the fact that people still appreciate that there's hard work behind that, often work of a few years, and it's not just dismissed or seen as a mental snack.
Mhm.
Um, that's just great that that people appreciate the craft and want to talk about the craft and don't take it for granted. That's a good feeling. So thank you.
Yeah, anytime, man. And yeah, thank you for your time as well. And yeah, once again, we'll keep in touch. And I hope you have a great day, man.
You too. Enjoy your coffee.
Hope you enjoyed that talk with Jonas. Like I mentioned, I watched Hazard at a film festival, and I believe it's still doing some festival runs, but we will keep you in the loop when it becomes available on a VOD or a streaming platform or anything like that. Just follow the Creative Imbalance socials, whether it's on Instagram, Facebook, all that jazz. and we'll let you know. Also, listening back to this, and I mentioned this was the earliest recording I've ever done of the podcast. I could tell I was really tired in trying to act like I wasn't tired. And there's one thing I regret, I think, because I can blame my brain not firing on all cylinders that early in the morning and not having my coffee. Or maybe not. Maybe I would have missed this anyways. But one thing I regret was when he mentioned that Sandstorm by DaRude was the most expensive song, for obvious reasons, to have on your film. I regret not asking him how much it cost. And to the point where I was listening to this back doing the edit, and I yelled at myself, like, why the fuck didn't you follow up on that one, Sean? But it is what it is. I still think this is an amazing interview, and it was so nice to meet Jonas, and I definitely love to get him back on the pod around his next project. And with that being said, before we go, I gotta thank all you legends on the Patreon page. First up, the co-producer Jeremy Hopkin of Hopkin Design, Amanda McKnight of Top 10 Nerd, Ryan Watkins of Ryan Radio, Jenny Potter, Devin McBride, Ryan frickin' Campbell, Mike Ulio, the ever so lovely Saber. If you guys want to hear some good music, type in Saber into your Spotify, Sabre. She's a wonderful soul and an amazing singer / artist, all that. Do it. And last but not least, Frances Coffer, aka my mom. If you want to shout out at the end of every episode and get all these episodes early, raw, and uncut, right when I get off the Zoom call, I post them on patreon.com/thecreativeinbalance. For a couple bucks, you can get all that. And you can go to bed at night knowing you're a badass motherfucker who supports independent media. You're the realest of the real. We ain't got no agenda here except to tell some cool stories. Share some awesome shit like the movie Hazard. I don't know why I'm getting so aggressive, but thank you. That's what I'm trying to say. Thank you.